Tua Tagovailoa had his hip surgery this morning in Houston. It was a successful surgery. Doctors expect him to make a full recovery, but how long is that going to take, and how much is this going to affect his draft stock? Still has a year of eligibility remaining, so, he could conceivably come back to Alabama next season. This is the third time he's been under the knife in just the last year. 2 different ankle surgeries, and now today's hip surgery. Our Ryan Wilson has a new mock draft coming out Tuesday. Let's focus on how this Tua injury is going to affect not only him but other quarterbacks. Starting with Tua Tagovailoa, it's got to be extremely difficult to try to put together a mock when you have no idea how his hip is going to respond.
That's right, Chris, and you sort of touched on it coming in. He's had the 2 ankle surgeries on both ankles. He also had, of course, the hip surgery that we just found out about today on Monday. The prognosis is excellent according to the surgeon, and he's expected to make a full recovery, which is great news. But we don't know anything more on that in terms of the details of when we can expect him back. And the big issue, and we've been talking about this even before the hip injury, is the durability. We see here he's 6'1", which is short for an NFL quarterback. He's only 218 pounds, and he takes a lot of hits. And we obviously have seen that throughout his career, and it came to a head on Saturday afternoon. So then the question becomes, can he stay healthy? And that's right now all that NFL teams are wondering. We don't know when he's coming back. It could be in 6 months. It could be in a year and a half. We really have no idea on that timeline, and it's sort of tough to speculate. And knowing that, Chris, it's hard for me to put him in this mock draft this week because we don't know any of the details. So this is the first week in 2.5 months that Tua Tagovailoa's name is not near the top of my mock draft.
Yeah, he was just below Joe Burrow in your last mock draft, and I would imagine Joe Burrow is going to stay up there when we see your latest mock draft on Tuesday. Now, you've pinpointed 7 teams that are going to be in search of a quarterback in this draft. Of course, there's going to be others, maybe like the Chicago Bears, who pop up there eventually, or maybe try to go out and find a quarterback in free agency. But these are the teams really in need of a young franchise quarterback. And as we take a look at the quarterback rankings, Tua Tagovailoa has been removed from this list. You have Burrow as the number 1. We know all about him and we know why. But how about Justin Herbert at number 2, potentially being bumped up as maybe the second best quarterback in this class if Tua isn't in this class or if he's still hurt?
That's right, Chris. You hit it on the head. Here's the thing with Herbert. He came back for his senior year after an up and down junior season. He did the right thing by coming back. And then for the first 7 or 8 games, he was not good. He hasn't been good for the first month and a half of the season. The last 2 games, however, he has been lights out. His timing is impeccable. He is playing through the roof. Huge game against USC, huge game against Arizona. And this obviously has NFL scouts and coaches taking notice. So if he continues to play at this high level, he's going to creep right back into the top 10. He was not a top 15 pick for me in the first half of the college football season based on the way he's played the last 2 weeks. I suspect plenty of NFL teams with those QB needs that we pointed to will be eyeballing him much closer, and there will be demand, and this often happens. Demand outstrips supply when you're talking about franchise quarterbacks. He could be overdrafted, in part because Tua may not be there, and in part because he is playing a little better, and the recency effect of that good play could coerce some teams, if you will, into drafting him maybe before he should be drafted.
And also the fact that Oregon is in the playoff hunt. If they continue to win, if they get into the playoff, if he outperforms some other quarterbacks in the playoff or the Pac-12 championship game, that would certainly help as well. Let's stay in the Pac-12 because you have Washington's Jacob Eason up there as well.
Yeah, I like Jacob Eason a lot, The issue with Jacob Eason, and he has a huge arm. He throws the ball just as far as Justin Herbert does. But the issue with Jacob Eason is lack of experience. He played early in the 2017 season, got hurt, lost his job to Jake Fromm in Georgia, transferred to Washington, didn't play last year, and has only played parts of this season. And when he's played well, he's been really good. But the issue is when he's pressured, he starts making mistakes. And when you're a really good quarterback in college ranks and you get drafted high, you typically get drafted to a terrible football team. And typically those terrible football teams don't have very good offensive lines. So if you're struggling behind college offensive lines against college defensive backs, you can certainly expect to have those same struggles, maybe exacerbated at the NFL level. So I think he needs more experience. I wouldn't take him in the first round right now, and it may do him a favor to go back one more year. But again, demand outstrips supply. And if teams really want a quarterback, they may be willing to take Jacob Eason, sit him for a year, and then come back in 2021, and go from there with him because he's an unbelievable, undeniable talent.
When you look at 4, 5, and 6, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Jake Fromm, which one of those three stand out to you?
Jordan Love has the most upside, and he's a lot like Eason in terms of his measurables and in terms of lack of experience. Jalen Hurts plays a different type of game. He came from Alabama, obviously, and he is more of a Dak Prescott / runner type player. And finally, Jake Fromm is the third round pick in my mind. But again, these guys get moved up because of the shakeup at the top of the draft, Chris. But if I'm taking somebody, I'm picking Jordan Love because of the upside down the road.
Okay, that's Ryan Wilson. You can find his brand new mock draft tomorrow, Tuesday, on CBSSports.com. It's a mock draft that's not going to include Tua Tagovailoa because of the injury to his hip, but thank goodness he had that successful surgery.